What is menstrual cycle? The reproductive cycle in the female primates, monkeys, apes and human beings is called menstrual cycle. When the first menstruation begins at puberty, the term used is menarche. And in human females, the menstruation is repeated at an average interval of 28-29 days. So what is menstruation? Menstruation is the breakdown of endometrial lining of the uterus, which comes out as fluid through the vagina of the female. So menstruation extends from 3 to 5 days in the uterus. The rest of the days after 3 to 5 days, that is from 7th day to the 13th day, is called as proliferative phase. So whatever endometrium lining has been broken down during the previous phase, that is menstrual phase, will get regenerated slowly during this phase, which is called as proliferative phase or follicular phase. And then on the 14th day, it is believed to be the ovulation day. From 15th day onwards, you can see the endometrium lining has regenerated the maximum and it's been maintained. After 28-29 days of the menstrual cycle, the next cycle starts. That means the next menstruation starts. Now whatever changes you see here during the menstrual cycle within the uterus is actually influenced by the hormones produced by the ovary as well as the hormones produced by the pituitary. So now we will see what happens during the days 3 to 5 in the uterus, at the same time in the ovary, and the hormones produced by the ovary as well as the pituitary. Now during the days 3 to 5, which is called as menstrual phase, in the ovary at the same time the follicles are starting to get developed. So this has been influenced by the developing follicles, or the development of the follicles is being stimulated by the pituitary hormones, follicle stimulating hormone. That is why the level of the follicle stimulating hormone will be high during this phase. Now because the follicles are developing, these developing follicles produces the hormone called estrogen, and estrogen is responsible for the female sex characteristics. The level of progesterone will be comparatively lesser than the estrogen because progesterone is actually produced by corpus luteum. Then the next phase is follicular phase, that is extending from the days 7 to 13. During this phase, what happens in the uterus is the endometrial lining is getting regenerated. So at that time, what happens in the ovary? In the ovary at the same time, we can see the tertiary follicle here and the Graafian follicle. Now the follicle hormones, slowly the progesterone is level is increasing, and still the estrogen level is high. In the pituitary glands, pituitary hormones, if you see, the luteinizing hormone will be higher than the follicular stimulating hormone and is going to become a peak. Now what happens during the 14th day of the menstrual cycle? 14th day is regarded as the ovulation day. At that time, ovulation happens in the ovary, leading to the rupture of Graafian follicle. It is because it is influenced by the pituitary hormones, luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone. Both will be produced at peak, which will make the Graafian follicle to rupture and release the secondary oocyte. Then comes the luteal phase. The luteal phase is also called as secretory phase. It starts from the days 15, 16 and extends till the end of the menstrual cycle, 28th day. What happens to the ruptured Graafian follicle in the ovary is that it get converted to corpus luteum, a structure that produces a hormone called progesterone. And progesterone is important for the maintenance of endometrial lining in case fertilization occurs. So anticipating a pregnancy, the progesterone hormone will be restoring the endometrium lining and it all gets regenerated to the maximum. During this phase, the pituitary hormone levels, LH as well as the follicle stimulating hormone will be stable, and then after some time the corpus luteum, if the pregnancy or fertilization does not take place, will get regressed, means it will get destroyed. Now, since the corpus luteum is not present, the level of progesterone hormones will get reduced and the level of estrogen in the ovary will increase because it is going to be the start of the next menstrual cycle. So, we can consolidate all these in the tabular form. During 3 to 5 days of menstrual cycle, what happens in the uterus? What is the condition of the ovarian follicles, the ovarian hormones and the pituitary hormones? During the 3 to 5 days of menstruation, at that time what happens in the uterus? In the uterus, endometrial lining breaks down and forming menstruation. The condition of ovarian follicles, they are developing. Ovarian hormones, estrogen will be higher because developing hormones produce estrogen. Pituitary hormones, follicle stimulating hormone will be higher because it is required for the development of follicles. So, during 7 to 13 days of the menstrual cycle, it is called as follicular phase or proliferative phase. What happens in the uterus is that endometrium will regenerate. See, endometrium is regenerating. Then in the ovary, the follicles will become mature to form tertiary follicle and then Graafian follicle. And then what happens to the ovarian hormones? Estrogen level will be higher because of the formation of these follicles, and then the pituitary hormones, LH is found to be higher than the FSH. See, luteinizing hormone is higher than the follicular stimulating hormone. The next is the ovulation day. 14th day is regarded to be the ovulation day if it is a 28-day menstrual cycle. Then the uterus, endometrium lining regenerating during the 14th day, and what is seen on the 14th day is rupture of the Graafian follicle to release secondary oocyte. The process is called ovulation. So, this is what takes place during 14th day in the ovary. And the hormones, estrogen level will be higher. Pituitary hormones, there is an LH surge. It is because of the luteinizing hormones surge, means highest amount, that is why the Graafian follicle ruptured. And then comes the 15 to 29 days during which endometrium lining is maintained. Corpus luteum is formed and it produces progesterone. Luteinizing hormone is higher. So, we say that menarche is the beginning of menstruation during puberty, whereas menopause will cease at around 50 years of age. Menstrual cycle is regarded to be the normal part in the reproductive life of a female, and if there exists any pregnancy during this period, no menstruation will take place. But it does not mean that menstruation does not take place only if pregnancy occurred. Menstruation can also be absent due to other reasons like stress and poor health.